The war between Donald Trump and Marjorie Taylor Greene is escalating as MAGA is absolutely imploding. Marjorie Taylor Greene just went on TV and she said that Donald Trump has turned her into a battered wife. She says she now fears for her life, and because of what Donald Trump is doing to her by calling her Marjorie Trader Brown and encouraging people who are in Trump's MAGA cult to basically go after her, she fears for her life. She fears that one of Trump's cult members may kill her. And she's saying, is what happened to Charlie Kirk going to happen to me because Donald Trump is directing the cult to basically kill me, is essentially what she's saying here. Judge for yourself. But she went on PBS, of all places, and she said this on PBS, and we know that PBS is under attack by Donald Trump. So this is where she chose to basically say, this maniac, this sicko, this person, she says, who she devoted her life to, and she now feels like a battered wife, that essentially he wants to see her killed. This is serious stuff, folks. Here's what she says. Here, play this clip.
But I just can't allow myself to be what I call a battered wife and be treated this way. It's just too much. It's too high of a bar, and I shouldn't have to wait here until I'm possibly murdered like Charlie Kirk, or God forbid, one of my kids be murdered as well.
And then she goes on to talk about how Donald Trump is lying to everybody in MAGA, that this affordability crisis is a Democratic hoax. And she's saying, why in the world would you say that right now? What a horrific thing for you to say. People are absolutely suffering because of you. Here, play this clip.
We've seen President Trump also previously dismiss concerns about affordability as a Democratic hoax. You think that was a mistake?
Yes, I do. Affordability, or the lack of ability of Americans to afford the cost of living, is not a Democrat hoax. Credit card debt is at an all-time high right now. And there's many other problems in the economy. It just hasn't quite stabilized yet.
But Donald Trump doesn't care. Donald Trump continues to call her a traitor and essentially imply that she's a stalker. He goes, she's a traitor. She's low IQ. She tries to call me 3 times a day and I don't want to pick up. She's just a jilted individual and I don't want to speak to her. This is what Donald Trump told Politico. Just think about this. She goes on PBS. Trump goes on Politico as this war in MAGA escalates. Here, play this clip.
So when, people with low IQs like Marjorie Taylor Greene, she's a low IQ person. When she says but she was a loyal person until I wasn't able to answer her phone calls because I'm just too busy to answer people's phone calls. You can't call me 3 times a day.
And then Donald Trump continues to attack her on this Politico interview. Here, play this clip.
I've watched stupid people like Marjorie Trader Greene, or some people call her Taylor Greene. Some people call her Taylor Brown, because green sometimes turns to brown, which isn't nice. But I've watched her say that he spends too much time on foreign. Well, by doing that, and first of all, it doesn't take a lot of time. I made one trip. I brought back trillions of dollars on that one trip. I stopped in Japan. I stopped in South Korea. I met with President Xi and ended what could have been a big problem.
You went to the Middle East. I was on that trip with you.
Went to the Middle East. I brought back $3 trillion from the Middle East. I sold many Boeing airplanes on that trip, like 300.
So in addition to going on PBS, Marjorie Taylor Greene then goes on CNN. And she says, Fox won't even invite me on. She said, I'll speak in front of Fox, but they refuse to allow me to tell their audience what Trump is doing. They refuse to allow me to even speak to the people. That's what she's saying. She recognizes that Fox is Trump regime media. Go figure. And she says, I feel sorry for Donald Trump because he has such hatred in his heart that he would even go after me, who's been so loyal to him, because all he sees around him is hate and the worst in people. That's what she says about Trump. Here, play this clip.
Well, actually, Wolf, I feel very sorry for President Trump. I genuinely do. It has to be a hard place for someone that is constantly so hateful and puts so much vitriol, name calling, and really tells lies about people in order to try to get his way or win some kind of fight. And I think that's exactly what's wrong in America today. That's what's wrong in this toxic political environment that has ripped our country apart. And I personally think that that's poor leadership from a president. It's a very bad demeanor, and Americans are very tired of it.
Then she talks about how she sent these death threats that she's been receiving as a result of Donald Trump's conduct to him. And she says that he said something so incredibly unkind that she said she would rather not even repeat the words he used in response to her basically begging him and saying, just stop saying Marjorie traitor, because you're encouraging people to go after me and go after my son and go after all of us. And she said that he showed zero sympathy, zero care. Here, play this clip.
And when you told President Trump about this, can you tell us a little bit more about what his reaction was to these threats?
Yeah, it was shocking to me. I sent those death threats directly to him in a text message and informed him of what his name calling and words were doing, the direct result. And it was a direct assassination threat on my son. And he was extremely, I won't repeat what he said, but it was extremely unkind. No sympathy, no care.
I'm just wondering, obviously it would be good to hear what he said, but do you feel like you were duped? I mean, as you reflect on this moment and these attacks against you, you have been such a staunch supporter and ally of President Trump. Do you feel like you were duped by him?
I feel, maybe I don't know if I would use the word duped. I think it's unfortunate for the entire country.
And she said, as a Christian, she says, it's easy for me to say a prayer for him. I can't forgive him for calling me a traitor. Here, play this clip.
Because when I hear him talk like that about you and insult you and attack you like that, I worry about your security and your family's security. And you've been getting some increasing threats, right?
Yes, and that's what I take so seriously. As a Christian, I'm not angry at the president. It's easy for me to say a prayer for him and forgive him. But the part that I have had a very hard time with is the fact that he called me a traitor. And because of his words, that brought serious threats against myself and my family. We had a pipe bomb threat on my home, a pipe bomb threat on my family construction company and staff, and had multiple pizza doxings. But the serious one was the direct death threats on my son. And I think that goes beyond anyone's arguments or disagreements or politics. All of our children and our family's safety should matter to anyone, no matter if they're mad at us or disagree with us. I think that should be something we respect.
Are you looking for something simple and delicious to add to your wellness routine? I used to throw regular honey into everything, breakfast bowls, tea, even protein shakes and salad dressings. But once I tried Monocora, regular honey just didn't cut it anymore. Monocora puts every other honey to shame. What sold me first was the richness and creaminess. It's got this naturally complex flavor that tastes like a treat, but also feels like you're doing something good for your body. And the health benefits are real. The best way to use Monocora, honestly, is straight from the spoon first thing in the morning. That creamy texture melts in your mouth and coats your throat. It is unreal. And this is not your average honey. Monocora honey is rich, creamy, and the most delicious honey you have ever had. It's ethically produced by Monocora's master beekeepers in the remote forests of New Zealand. The bees collect nectar from the manuka tea tree. That nectar is packed with bioactives, giving this honey 3 times more antioxidants and prebiotics than your average jar. There's also a special antibacterial compound called MGO that comes from the tea tree. Monocora third-party tests every single harvest for MGO and makes these results available through their QR system. It's truly a game changer. 1 heaped teaspoon each morning is all you need to unlock the bioactives. And of course, it's totally fine to enjoy more throughout the day, especially if you're cutting out other sweeteners. It's a honey with superpowers. Now is the best time to try Monocora honey. They are running their biggest sale of the year from now to December 2nd. Head to monocora.com/Meidas to get $150 off your first order with their Black Friday starter kit, which comes with an MGO 850 Plus Manuka honey jar, 35 honey travel sticks, a wooden spoon, and a guidebook. That's monocora.com/Meidas for $150 off your first starter kit.
I'll show you this other clip, but let me be very clear where I stand. I want there to be no ambiguity. And I want to remind you as well, too, before going into this, hit subscribe on our YouTube channel, please. We're on our way to 6 million subscribers. You may think you're subscribed to this YouTube channel, but you might not actually be subscribed. So please double check, hit subscribe. You know, we're under attack from state regime media, and Trump wants to shut us down and he's going after us. So please hit subscribe. We're leading independent media, and the best way you can help is just hit subscribe. Okay, so then Marjorie Taylor Greene says that Donald Trump is responsible for creating a toxic political climate, and she just goes in on him here. Here, play this clip.
Now, Congresswoman, I have to ask you, as you've pointed out, you were a staunch, vocal MAGA loyalist for the president, voting with him 98% of the time. And it went very quickly to you breaking with him publicly and deciding to leave Congress within just a matter of months. And earlier this year, you were calling him my favorite president of all time. Meanwhile, he's called you a lunatic, a traitor. After your recent 60 Minutes interview, he said your views are, quote, those of a very dumb person. Is he still your favorite president of all time?
Well, I think the president words are unfortunate, but this is the behavior that unfortunately America is used to seeing from Donald Trump. And when I've talked a lot about how politics have become so toxic and it's violent. You know, my office has reported 773 death threats since I've been in Congress, and that's not all of them. There were many more. And after the president unfortunately called me a traitor, even though I have been his most loyal member of Congress, and have such a strong voting record with him, I also have legislation that directly reflects many of his executive orders. The result of that was a pipe bomb threat on my house, a pipe bomb threat on my construction company, multiple pizza doxing deliveries, and a direct death threat, multiple direct death threats on my own son. And this is the nature of toxic politics that I think America is so tired of. But it really shows there's a problem in the Republican Party when the leader of the Republican Party, the president of the United States, would actually attack one of his own members that has been so good to him. I very much support America First policies, which the president campaigned on. I would love to see him be successful in those for the American people, but I just can't allow myself to be what I call a battered wife and be treated this way. It's just too much. It's too high of a bar, and I shouldn't have to wait here until I'm possibly murdered like Charlie Kirk, or God forbid one of my kids be murdered as well.
And by the way, Kevin McCarthy, the former spineless Speaker of the House, although you'd have to almost say he was better than MAGA Mike Johnson. I mean, I don't, in many ways, how could you say any of them are better than? They're both horrible humans. But you have Kevin McCarthy. He goes on state regime media, which calls itself Fox, and he says Marjorie Taylor Greene, the canary in the coal mine. In other words, her leaving, what she's feeling is what others in MAGA are feeling right now, and that others want to follow her. By the way, we've heard from Nancy Mace, who wants to leave. We've heard from a ton of other MAGAs. We're expecting 20 MAGAs want to get the hell out of here. And by the way, after those special election results in the House district in Georgia last night, after the Miami mayor's race, this may be bigger than a blue tsunami coming up in the midterms. What's bigger than a tsunami? Like a nuclear tsunami? Here's what Kevin McCarthy has to say. Play this clip.
What happened, by the way, with MTG? She's leaving Congress? She's leaving Congress, but I don't think that's the end that you'll see about her. And I think, look, I've always believed that anytime you have an elected official that's known by 3 initials, they're effective on what they do. And I found Marjorie to be very effective, but she's almost like a canary in a coal mine. And this is something inside Congress they better wake up, because they're going to get a lot of people retiring, and they got to focus. I think keeping members out of Congress, you only get 2 years to be in the majority. And if the Democrats get you not to work every day for 2 months, that's losing 2 months of the majority.
And then finally, you've got Donald Trump posting the following. By the way, did you subscribe? Make sure, double check that you've subscribed. We want to get to 6 million. We need to hit 6 million. I want to make sure our voice is heard far more than state regime media and everything. All right. So Donald Trump goes, the only reason Marjorie Taylor Greene turns to brown under stress went bad is that she was jilted by the president of the United States. Certainly not the first time she has been jilted. Too much work, not enough time, and her ideas are now really bad. She sort of reminds me of a rotten apple. Marjorie is not America First or MAGA, because nobody could have changed her views so fast, and her new views are those of a very dumb person. That's what he says. He calls her dumb, low IQ, jilted, attacking Marjorie Taylor Greene. And by the way, of all of the things that led to this breakup, was like the one area where I agree with Marjorie Taylor Greene, which is release the Epstein files. Donald Trump was too busy covering up for a child sex trafficking ring, which he and MAGA are still covering up for, him and the MAGA Republicans. And she was like, no, like, I may agree with you on all this other stuff, which is ridiculous. But like, we don't support the child sex trafficking ring, do you? Do we? And Trump's like, yeah, that's how you're a real MAGA. You want to get up to the highest tier MAGA? If you want to climb through the ranks, you got to support cover-ups of child sex trafficking rings like Epstein and the powerful men that Trump supports and protects. That's who they're all about. You want to be real MAGA? You got to support the pedos. That's what Trump basically said to her. And she's like, okay, I'm out. Even Marjorie's out. And he calls her a rotten apple. A rotten apple. Stupid. People are great. These are crazy. Could you believe I'm even reporting on this? These are crazy. These are crazy humans. Freaking crazy people. Okay, hit subscribe. Let's get to 6 million subscribers. Please make sure you're subscribed. Just tell like 30 people about MeidasTouch today. Can you do that? Just go text 30 random people that you know and tell them about MeidasTouch Network and see if they watch it. And then tell me in the comments if they watch it. We'll do that. Thanks. Bye.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to add the MeidasTouch podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts for new updates every single day.